Okay, I'm Ian Hannon. We're on the campus of UNCG. This is Take Back the Night, and it's an event that's been going on all across the country and over the world actually for more than 30 years now. And at this particular location we have the Clothesline Project, which are these shirts in the back. And I'll be speaking at the Take Back the Night event, and so hopefully come out and see it. Thanks.
Let's go take a nice little march around campus. All right, let's do it.
Coming home from work, a stranger broke into my house. Didn't know the guy. Kept me for 6 hours. Tortured, raped several times. Didn't know him. I went 6+ months without telling him. Nobody knew. I heard rumors that I was pregnant. I heard news that I was on drugs. I dropped out of school. The guy I'm sitting beside in math class, he could do it too. Everybody looked like a possible person who could rape me. It was the normal people that scared me the most, because you just don't know. I was wearing my pajamas. I was in home. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing anything. I was in my own bed. And it's just, your words hurt and your actions hurt, and you just don't know. When somebody gets raped, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your friends, it affects your job, it affects your school, it affects your family. I quit school. I lost my job. I couldn't go back to work. I lost my apartment because every time I walked in, I saw the blood that was on the carpet. You lose your life. You lose everything. I'm never going to be that same person, ever. You're okay. You're gonna be okay. Don't ever hesitate. Somebody out there has gone through it. Let somebody know. Just keep going. Don't ever stop. Start today. Be nice to the person beside you, because you never know. Many a times people never knew. And watch the word rape. That hurts too. You can make a difference. All it takes is one person to say, hey, don't talk to her like that. That can make a difference. You guys can do it, and don't ever hesitate.
Victims of sexual abuse attempt suicide more often than others. Not only this is a tragedy, it is a crime, a prosecutable one. Few people who rape others are ever brought to trial, and even fewer are convicted. Because of our own complicity of silence, rapists get away with killing people's souls. If you've been raped, or if you know someone who has, RAINN has a hotline you can call. The number is 1-800-656-HOPE, H-O-P-E. One last thing. I think about the boy I was at the age of 5. I know he has made a difference, even though he was sexually abused. He has made a difference to me now that I told you about it. It's been a long time since then, but I know that boy still matters. Because of him, I took a road less traveled. Thank you.
Sometimes things aren't so clear cut. And I remember my friend and her best friend hanging out in his room, and it was just a studio, you know, couch, TV, and then the bed's over in the corner, and I don't really remember how I ended up over on the bed. I just remember that I lost my virginity that night, and I had no idea, and I'm still uncomfortable calling it rape. I am still uncomfortable about it because I hear these stories that must have been so much more awful than mine. And I think that this can't be the same thing, but the more that I've learned about this stuff, even though it still makes me uncomfortable, I was raped, but I was under the influence. You can't consent under the influence. You can't. You are legally unable once you reach a certain point of intoxication. What made it the hardest to really wrap my head around, and forgot about it for years, was the fact that the friends that were there with me that night, my best friend, my friend wouldn't get back to me, and I didn't understand what happened after that night. And finally, she said that it was my fault that her friend started drinking, because she thought that I was being raped and it stressed her out. So it was my fault, and that they couldn't be friends with me anymore. So I lost my best friend because I was raped, and I guess they knew that, when I didn't even know that that's what had happened, and their choice was to desert me, because that hurt so much. I didn't even have time to realize how much the rape hurt. It's so important to just be supportive. It's so easy nowadays to just blame what the person was wearing or why they were where they were at so late, you know. They must have been asking for it. So I feel like it makes us feel safe. It makes us feel like it can't happen to us if we draw those lines in the sand. But the impact of victim blaming resounds forever. It can echo for a long time. That's just how hazy the lines can be sometimes. It's not always clear cut.
A little over a year ago, I was raped by an old friend who I went to elementary, middle school, and high school with. I've known him 12 or more years. We had been hanging out at a bar and drinking and catching up and gone back to his place to hang out and watch a movie, and I fell asleep, and he took advantage of me while I was asleep without my knowledge or consent. And I talked to a therapist about it, and part of my therapy is not being ashamed to talk about it. And one of the bigger problems that I had after acknowledging that it happened, because I denied the fact that it happened and I didn't talk to anybody about it and I kind of packed it away, were these feelings that I was to blame because I had been drinking, or that I encouraged him in some way because we were friends and I trusted him, but he violated me in multiple ways that night. And I tried, about a year after it happened, to go to the police and press charges, and I was put through the ringer about why I waited so long, why I didn't go to the hospital, and why I didn't do more to take care of it. So ultimately I just dropped that whole thing. But mostly I just want to say, people take it at their own pace when they're ready to talk about it, but don't be afraid to talk about it with trusted people. It's going to really help with the healing. And that's all.
When you're in a group of people that are making jokes, especially rape jokes, it is your responsibility, no matter who they are, to check them and tell them and let them know that that offends you. That's not right. I can't tell you countless times I've been in groups of men where all I hear is jokes about women. All the time. Every day, probably. I probably hear a rape joke every day. And I'm ashamed of that.
I've been raped 3 times in my life, on 3 different occasions by 3 different men. And the first time I was raped, I was 12, and I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't understand that I was being raped. I didn't even know what was happening to me. And then I was raped again at 16, and then again at 18. After being raped, I found myself in a abusive relationship for 5 years because I didn't think I deserved better. We need to empower each other. We need to help each other make good decisions. We need to be a friend. Have compassion for people because you never know what they go through. On a day-to-day basis, you never know. Someone could be having the worst day ever because of something that happened to them 8 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 2 years ago. You never know what people go through. Be more compassionate and to love each other and to care about each other because we do go through things. Everyone goes through things. Even if you haven't been raped, everyone has a story. Everyone has something that has happened to them that affects their life every single day. Be more compassionate towards each other. I was raped my senior year of high school. I'm a sophomore here. I never knew the term survivor existed until right now, so I'm really thankful for you guys to be here and educate us that we can be survivors and not have to be a victim for the rest of my life. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me that you guys can come out here and do that, and it's been 2 years and it's been really, really hard, but I know that I can get through it and it's not going to define me for the rest of my life. And I'm so glad that people are here to help us, and I never knew that people all dealt with this the same too, so I just really want to say thank you, and I hope it gets better.
There's the anger, there's the hate that is so easy to just let go and dive into, and it's very easy to just let that rule your life and to let all these fantasies, what you could do, what you can do to that person, just eat you up. But the fact that you can't because it's illegal, that'll destroy you. And so what I really want people to take home is the greatest tool, and I don't say weapon, I say tool, because this is about nonviolence. Our greatest tool is the compassion I see in every single one of your eyes out here. You care. Let that be known. Let people know that they're not alone. Even if you are just a bystander, you don't even know the person, but you know the situation. Just feel it in your heart. Let your compassion come out. They'll know. I've seen it in several of my friends. Just being there on a rough night, knowing that they can call you, just putting your arm around them and letting them know that there are men out there, or women, depending on the person, that are good, that do care, that would never, ever do this, that really does a lot, in my experience, to help people put their life back together. So please, even if you feel like you're not at all involved in this, you are. You are, I guarantee it.